It is 7:46, there you go. Let's see what's in the papers this morning with our senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and former government advisor Claire Pearsall. Morning to you both.
Morning.
Straight on to the Telegraph, Claire. Why is that National Highways telling us to decorate our bathrooms?
It's all to do with the M25.
It is all to do with the M25. There's a full weekend closure between junctions 9 and 11, so that's the southbound Surrey stretch. Yes, it is sort of Woking and areas like that, because they're demolishing the bridge that goes over. It's the A3 bridge. That junction has been up for improvement for some time, but they are now closing it. So this is the first time in sort of the 38-year history of the M25 that it's going to be closed for an entire weekend. Now, that in itself causes enormous problems.
Yeah.
To compound it by making a stupid comment about go decorate your bathroom, it's like, OK, people may need to get to work, people may need to attend appointments, they might want to go to an airport, considering that that's the route towards the M23 to Gatwick.
Yeah.
So don't be ridiculous.
Flippant,
it is flippant. And then he's suggesting that people can travel through by other means. You know, if you must travel by train, walk, or use a bicycle. I don't mind, really.
We haven't got a bike.
And you know,
Who said that, though? Who is it?
This is the chief
of National Highways.
Oh, he's going to be out of a job by Monday.
He absolutely is. How about just a little bit of apology, saying this is unavoidable, we're very sorry for any inconvenience, this will make your journeys better.
Yeah, I don't want to be
future.
told what to do. I mean, the last thing I want to do is actually
go and decorate the bathroom.
Precisely, this is
I might want to go fishing or play tiddlywinks or something like that. But any of those would have been reasonable suggestions.
I just want the man to say, I'm terribly sorry. We know the M25 is awful on a regular basis, and this is going to make it worse. I'm very sorry. Let's hope it'll be better in the future. That's all I want to hear.
Yeah.
I don't want to be told to get on my bicycle or go decorate my bathroom.
No. Oh, I think that's rude, actually.
Don't you think, though, that sometimes we get these headlines or these quotes, and it's because the person has been asked a question, probably in a very silly offhand way as well. And that's why they come out with an equally flippant remark. But that's the remark that makes the headline.
It could be, but you still think somebody in his position would think, maybe this is not such a good idea to actually say here, because it does sound flippant.
Yeah. Nigel, to the Times. 20,000 people a month off work with poor mental health.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't flippant. That they amount sort of 2/3 of incapacity benefit claims, and obviously that one of the things that was coming into the budget is how you get this kind of money down, and you can't do it until you get NHS waiting list down. So you've got 2.5 million people waiting for hospital treatment. There are people who could otherwise work. If they did work, the economy could be boosted by 18 billion. But we're still in a situation where we haven't got the waiting list sorted out. And that is what Jeremy Hunt should have spent that non-dom money on, that he decided to give away in tax cuts. If he'd used it for what Labour would have used it for, that would have created 2 million more operations a year.
I don't know, Nigel, in that there are people with mental health problems that need hospital treatment and all the rest of it, and that can be very serious. But are we really seeing an escalation with that? I mean, Marion's been in touch and says, I'm afraid mental health is the new bad back for not working. Can't be disproved. I'm sure there are genuine people with mental health problems, but there are also a lot of people who use it as an excuse.
I mean, it may well be some people do, and you may be right about the bad back thing, but there's no question that mental health in this country has been deteriorating, and some of these people will be seriously ill.
And the trouble is, yes, I mean, there are people with serious mental health problems, but we talk about it a lot, but I'm not sure we do anything about it. The real help is not out there, so maybe it's easier to sign them off on an incapacity benefit and just sort of get rid of the problem.
And I think that's half the problem. And what worries me is that we're now going to look at somebody with a serious mental health problem is going to be lumped in with the, oh, you must be work shy. If you start over-diagnosing people, which I do think there is a tendency to do, then those who really suffer get diluted in all of that, and they just sort of lumped in, and people assume that they're swinging the lead and they should be out. But the worrying rise is almost a quarter of 17 to 19-year-olds, younger people. What's going on? What is bringing on an epidemic of bad mental health in that age group? Why aren't we looking at the reasons behind it? Again, is it over-diagnosing a problem if somebody's just not coping because life is a bit difficult at that age, as it sometimes is? Are they just feeling a bit sad and stressed, or do they actually have a proper mental health problem? And I don't think we understand enough about it. So the figures themselves aren't particularly helpful when you want to look for a solution.
No, I think we need to be a little bit more specific on it all, don't we? Can we have a look at Angela Rayner, who is adamant that she's not a tax dodger?
Yeah, this has been rumbling on now for some time. And this is Angela Rayner, who had bought her ex-council house perfectly within rights to do so. And this was in sort of 2007. And then sold it for a profit. The profit she made was £48,500. None of this on the surface looks as though she's done anything wrong. However, she was registered also living at another address. She married her husband, had children. The address that she put down was his address, which was in the same city up the road. Yeah. So there is some question about the property that she sold. Was it her main principal residence, or was it indeed a second home? And if it was a second home, then there is extra tax to be paid. So she could have got away with not paying £3,000 in tax. And I think the problem, because she has gone incredibly quiet over this, everybody thinks that there now is some kind of problem with it. I don't know if there is or there isn't.
But she needs to face it.
She ought to face up to this now, because it's several weeks from this story first breaking and we're still talking about it, and now she's asking for privacy.
Yeah, I mean, they do keep sort of hounding Angela Rayner on this particular issue. As Claire just said, nothing wrong at all with making a profit on selling your council house. I mean, it's not something that would have been a Labour policy. It was a Margaret Thatcher policy. But while it exists, you avail yourself of that.
Yes, but has she played the rules?
Well,
to
she's
avoid
always
the
said
tax?
that property was her principal residence, and therefore she didn't have capital gains tax to pay on it when she sold it. The police had a look at it. They're taking no further action. It does feel like something that really... Interestingly, it's in the Mail again, which is has been after her. But it does sound like something now that could be put to bed.
Well, no, it could only be put to bed if there is actual proof that it was indeed her principal residence. And I don't think this is people just having a go at her. It's quite serious. Capital gains tax, any tax, we all have to pay it, and we all get hounded if we don't.
Well, it's not on the onus for her to prove she's innocent. It's on the onus...
Well, it is now, isn't it?
On somebody else to prove that she's guilty. Well, what she said is she is innocent because she moved between the two houses, but her principal residence was the one she sold. So that should be cut and dry.
But not where her husband and children were living.
Yeah.
No, I mean, her husband was living elsewhere.
So that
and
doesn't...
her children, newborn children, you don't tend to live separately from your newborn children, especially when...
I mean, you'd be a bit suspicious of that, wouldn't you? I mean, it's legitimate to ask the question.
Well, it's legitimate to ask the question, and she's answered it. So unless you've got evidence that she's not telling the truth, it does seem to me that this one really could die a death.
Oh, well, let us know what you think about that.
No one over that side believes that.
Well, no. Right, Claire, Nigel, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you a little bit later on.
Let's catch up with the weather.